All right, what's going on, guys? It's Luke here. Today we're going to be running through the Apex end of day drawdown accounts. As you know, these accounts were new features, and they just added these in. I don't even remember how long, maybe like a month or so ago. And prior to that, obviously, Apex had a ton of issues, and I did not personally mess with intraday trailing drawdown. I don't recommend intraday trailing drawdown to anybody, so I'm not going to ever review accounts that have intraday trailing drawdown because I think it's awful. So now that they added these end of day accounts, I used to actually trade with the intradays still, but I hated it. The only reason I did was because of the advantage of having to have more accounts. That was the positive side. But now that they have these end of day drawdown accounts and they ran that massive sale, I picked up a lot of these. I haven't traded them for payout yet, these end of day, but I'm going to soon. I still have a few evals left that I still want to work on. But anyway, I'm going to run through like the key points with these accounts and why I'm a really big fan of these accounts now that they've done this update and they fixed a lot of the issues and the things that they've had problems with in the past. So I just pretty much labeled the main points here. You got end of day drawdown on these accounts. You can stack up to 20 accounts, which is the biggest takeaway here. This is the biggest advantage that Apex, has against other firms. Now, every firm is going to have its own one thing that kind of draws people towards it. As you guys know, with Alpha, it's the max loss limit rule where you can keep your extra drawdown after taking a smaller payout, which is great. With Apex, it is the 20 accounts, right? You're just going to need 5 winning days, but there is a 50% consistency on funded, but you have to look at it like you're getting 20 accounts, like 50% isn't that bad, right? It used to be like 30, so it's a big improvement. And we're going to run through everything on these accounts. So again, I am not looking at the intraday. I'm looking at the end of day. I'm going to run through everything, kind of break it down for you guys, kind of explain things through. So personally, I recommend the 50s, the 50Ks. Obviously, if you're going to go for the 150s, you either want the 50s or the 150s. In my opinion, I just use the 50s. So I'm going to run through everything on the eval, and then we're going to go through the performance account. And the performance account just means the funded for you guys that don't know. So right now these are $249, but it's 50% off, so they're like $125. But as you guys know, and then there's activation fee as well. So I wouldn't be buying these right now. As you guys know, Apex is kind of a meme with running like crazy sales, 80 to 90% off sales, which is when I was grabbing all mine, they were like $30, 30 something dollars USD. At one point they were like 20 something. So I was just buying them there and then paying the activation fee. That's when I was getting most of mine. That's when I stacked up. But again, they're still 50% off right now if you use someone's code. I don't know whose code you use, but I don't have a code with Apex. But I'm sure they will run another sale eventually because nobody's going to want to pay 125 US plus 100. Like, no. So anyway, I'm going to run through everything here. Basically, you can one day pass these evals, right? Which is a great thing. This is what I love to see on evals. You can run 6 minis, $3,000 profit target, $2,000 max drawdown. It is end of day drawdown. But this is the thing. Daily loss limit of $1,000 on the eval. So these evals are very similar to the Alpha Zeros, except Alpha Zeros, you can only run 3 minis. So are you realistically going to run 6 minis with $1,000 daily loss limit? Probably not, unless you have like a really small stop. I think the most I was really using was like 3 or 4. But again, you can one day pass. If you do catch a move with 6 minis and you just run a super tight stop, you can do it again up to 6 minis. But yeah, so you can run up to 6 minis, $3,000 profit target, $2,000 max drawdown, which is standard end of day drawdown. You have a $1,000 daily loss limit, and there's no reset fee on these. So basically, if you cook the account, you just have to buy another one. So these, that's how it works. There's no resets. You just pay for another one. So that's just how Apex is doing it, right? So now we're gonna go over here. Obviously, I would recommend Tradeovate. I've never used Wealth Charts or Rhythmic. I just go with Tradeovate, but just pick whatever platform you want. Basically, it's all whatever you prefer. So as you can see, after you pass the account, you are paying a one-time activation fee of 109 USD. The reason why I was fine with that, again, because I was buying these evals dirt cheap, like 30 USD, 37 USD, whatever it was, and I was paying this, so my all-in cost was under 150 USD, which really wasn't that bad, right? So again, try to buy these on sale. I wouldn't recommend buying them now. Like 125 USD plus 109. That's kind of ridiculous. So just wait and see. I'm sure they will run another crazy sale in due time. So just be a little patient. Like I said, how Apex is always running these sales. So you have 7 days basically to activate and pay the activation fee after you pass. So make sure to do that. They will send you an email. So right when you pass, basically, they send you an email at the end of the day giving you like, go into your account and you can activate it and you can pay the performance fee and activate the account and start trading it pretty much right away. It's pretty much instantly done after you pay for it. So just make sure within 7 days you are paying that, or the account's pretty much gone, I assume. I mean, I paid it every time, so I don't know, but I'm assuming they just take it away from you. So payout frequency, you can get a payout after 5 winning days. So we're going to go through here because it is a little bit different than some other props, which again can be a downside for some people. Let's go through this really quick, okay? So you can get up to weekly payouts with 100% payout split. So that's another positive. You're getting 100% split, right? Okay, you need a minimum of 5 days that meets the required daily profit. Minimum payout, so you need a $500 minimum payout, which whatever, 50% consistency, of course, and you could take up to a maximum of 6 payouts per performance account before you basically have to restart. It says approved payouts are issued at 100%. You receive 100% of the payout amount, blah, 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 whatever. So this is what I'm looking at right here. We're looking at the payout requirements, right? So as you can see, for the 50K, you need 5 days of $250, and you need to have a minimum balance to request. So your balance needs to be 52.6K in order to be able to request a payout. So you need to have the safety net basically after you take the payout. So if you take a $500 payout from 52.6, you're going down to 52.1. So it's not like alpha where you can take an early payout before a buffer's built. You actually have to build a buffer. But again, you're getting the ability to have 20 accounts. There's pros and cons with these accounts, right? So you do have to build a buffer. It is a little bit annoying. And $250 minimum daily profit compared to like the 150, which is pretty standard with every other prop firm like Top Step, Lucid, Alpha, or whatever, 150, 200s, whatever. So again, just keep this in mind with these accounts. That is one of the downsides. But I mean, if you want to, like, it shouldn't be hard to build up the account to 52.6K. I mean, at the end of the day, for an eval, you're building it up 3K, right? So I don't really think there's much to go over on this stuff over here. Let's go back over here. So again, this is the big thing. You can have 20 accounts. You could trade up to 4 minis, right? So these are the big sell. This is the big seller, the 20 accounts. So you have to think about it in terms of pros and cons. Yes, there are some cons like daily loss limit. There is, like I said, you have to build a decent sized buffer, but you're getting 20 accounts. So you have to look at it from like a pros and cons and kind of weigh out the pros and cons and see if this prop firm is good for you. Again, you have $2,000 max drawdown, end of day drawdown. There is a daily loss limit, of course, on your funded, and it is a 50% consistency rule, right? So that means your biggest winning day can't be more than 50%. So say you built the buffer up $3,000, your biggest winning day has to be under or 1,500 or under, basically, right? Which 50% is that's pretty good. I mean, I don't like consistency rules in general, but with the ability to be copy trading so many accounts, you're going to be fine. You're probably going to be going for base hit trades anyway, pretty consistent wins, and this really shouldn't be an issue. Again, 50% is better than 40%, so really doable with the 50%. Again, no reset fee on the funded. 100% payout split, which is a huge positive. There is the inactivity policy, but here, can we just click it? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. You just have to keep the accounts active. You guys know that. And you can get up to 6 payouts, and then basically you have to kind of roll back over and start again. So is there really much else to go over on these? We can go through the payout frequency. I don't know. You guys could. That's pretty much everything I already talked about. So the safety net and all this stuff like that. But again, really nothing much else. But basically, the method for these accounts, in my opinion, is you want to stack as many accounts as possible. Go for base hits. Slowly build your buffer on your account up to that 52.6K, 53K, kind of what you built up on the eval, and then take payouts consistently from there. That would be my opinion. I feel like if you are going to use Apex to what it's meant to be used for and to its advantage, you want to be taking as many accounts or using as many accounts as possible, right? Because if you only have 2 accounts, you're better off just trading Top Step. You're better off just trading Lucid, whatever, right? But the whole purpose with Apex is to be trading as many accounts, more than 5, right? Because every other firm is 5. So if you could trade Anything above 5, I think you should use Apex to that advantage, take advantage of that, and go for base hit trades. Go for small winning days. Hit your winning days, build your balance up slowly, take a payout, and then just keep repeating the process. And even a pretty small $500 payout on 10 accounts is 5K. You do that on 20 accounts, like you see how quickly it adds up. So in my opinion, stack as many accounts as possible, go for those base hits, and yeah, Apex, these accounts are solid. Again, was not a big fan of the intraday trailing drawdown accounts at all. But again, I would recommend these accounts to anyone as long as they're on sale. I would wait for another sale because I wouldn't be paying 125 USD and then having to pay an activation. In my opinion, that's just too much. But that's it from you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one and keep going through these accounts. I'll probably do Lucid next, whatever order this is in. But anyway, that's it from you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.